Hello, District 2 Toastmasters. It's Marty Varela. I am your 2025-2026 Public Relations Manager, and it is my distinct pleasure to profile last year's PRM. Josh Hindman is a seasoned clinical informatics professional with 18 years at Providence Health and Services, where he's recognized for blending technology with human-centered solutions. A dedicated Toastmaster for over 20 years, Josh has served in multiple leadership roles, most recently as District 2's Public Relations Manager, and is driven by a passion for creating memorable, immersive experiences, whether designing a haunting attraction or elevating a live contest. Married for 18 years and a proud father, Josh channels his creative spirit into helping others connect, engage, and grow through bold ideas and experiences. Thank you so much, Josh, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Marty. I'm so glad to be here.
That's awesome. Let's take a little bit of a look back. I know that you've been at the helm of the district's public relations for the past year. What are you most proud of achieving during your time as public relations manager?
I think what I am most proud of is the amount of engagement I was able to have with the different clubs. I've met so many amazing people, and I was so excited to be able to kind of get in there and be part of this group. And really, it helped encourage me to and inspired me to even do this role in the best way I possibly could. I'm very proud specifically of the programs that I was able to create, of the interactions that I was able to make. Really enjoyed having that time.
That's fantastic, particularly when you have something physical that you can put in your hands, like those beautiful programs that you've created. I also would be proud of that if I were in your spot. When you're considering the time that you spent in the public relations manager role, I'm sure that you've had many memories. Is there a particular story, campaign, issue of a newsletter that stands out to you or that received a particularly strong response from our readers?
One, I think what I in one of the editions of the Starburst, I was able to create this. I created kind of a undertone of a theme for the division contests, and that was Kings of the Kingdom. No one asked me to create this. I just kind of it came out of my head. I was like, let's do this. This would be really cool. And so that's kind of what I based the program off of too. You'll see Keys to the kingdom being, of course, the conference. It was the end of the division contest. So I think really creating that experience was really cool for me, and I think I know I got a lot of feedback from that. A lot of people really enjoyed that. I loved also being able to kind of have my own space in Editor's Nook where I can pretty much talk about anything I wanted to talk about that I just was feeling in that moment. And I did that quite a bit with some of the articles like The Squirrels in My Brain, where I talked about my ADD and how I work with that in through this process. And um, my and I got actually someone reached out to me in from because of that article and told me how much it really meant to them to know that there are other people out there who are like that. And that just made me feel really good that I was able to reach someone and resonate with someone with that article. So I really enjoyed that. And really, it's about the connections, creating these connections. And I heard so many people, they told me how much they enjoyed reading the Starburst, and they wanted to thank me so much. They wanted to thank me for doing what I was able to do with that Starburst as well. I just had a lot of fun editing it, spent a lot of time on it, but I think I'm happy that it resonated with people.
Sounds like it was time well spent, and it's so awesome that you can take something personal about yourself and use it to connect with the community at the same time that you're able to pursue things that are interesting to you and have a little bit of agency in doing that. You know, Toastmasters love a theme, and that Keys to the Kingdom theme is a pretty great one because it can keep so many different parts connected. And when you're thinking about the parts and connections in a district as large as ours, I imagine that you may have had a few obstacles. What was one of the biggest challenges that you faced in this role, and how did you navigate it?
One of my biggest challenges for me was time management. That is has always been a challenge for me in almost anything I do. I had a lot of projects at the same time at one point, is including a project that was supposed to remain under wraps. Well, that did remain under wraps for a while, and that was the playing cards that we created for with all the the different leaders and their names, and we did that. That project was a big project, but we had to keep it under wraps. So I kept getting more projects around that project. So I think that was one of the biggest challenging things for me is really learning how to manage that time appropriately. I started using tools like AI helped me a little bit with time management, as well as I use this program called Notion, which also has an AI background actually. But it's helped me create a kind of a task list where I can actually type in all the tasks that I have to do at any given time. I can document whether I've finished them or not finished them, and what I've done, started on them or not. And so having tools like that available at our fingertips, I think was so helpful for me to really navigate that time management. Now I'm still not a time management pro, but definitely helped keep me keep me in line a little bit. Also, another tool was that Metricool really helped me with social media, sending stuff out on social media, because I can create different articles and different posts at one time, have them all scheduled out with Metricool, and that really helped me out. So in these tools are available, and I highly encourage anyone who does this role or any other role like it, seek out those tools because they really are helpful and can help with your processes as well as the people. I mean, the trio that I worked with, they were so amazing. They were very conscious of the amount of projects I had and the time I had. There was even a time where they stopped giving me projects just so I can get caught up. Like, and they kind of protected my time a little bit there. I really appreciated that, and I was able to get everything done that I needed to get done, and it was a rewarding at the end, of course, when you do that. It feels like a rush. It feels like, oh my gosh, I'm stressed out about this, but then when it's done, it's like, wow, I did this. I
I did
got
that.
through this. So it's really has its own rewards as well.
It's awesome to hear that the outcome was that you felt proud about getting it done. And it is also, I think, a little bit heartening for me to know that that concept of scope creep that we are all familiar with in different contexts when our project starts out this small and becomes this large,
Right.
that there are ways to acknowledge that it's happening even when you can't stop it, and that you have a plan to use tools to kind of help you respond to it. I mean, even if it doesn't manage every element of the issue, you're making an effort in the right direction. Thanks for
Right.
talking about Notions and Metropool. Hopefully, people will check those out to see if they can find ways to integrate them into their worlds and the things that they're doing. When you think
Absolutely.
about that ability to take information from your experience and turn it into suggestions from others, that's all about attaining knowledge, growing, and learning. What have you personally learned from your time managing public relations for the district? Is there anything that surprised you about the role?
I will have to say, it's not so much a surprise, but the support from District 2 has been amazing for me. That really helped build me up, even just getting that support, getting that excitement about some of the stuff I was able to put out there, and the people I would talk to during the contest. It just really helped me out through this role. I mean, that was kind of the biggest thing for me is not that it was a surprise, but that I got so much support from the membership, and it just it meant so much to me to get that. Both leaders and members helped me with this process. I had some great leaders that I worked with, and just really great people all over in District 2. I dove into learning various tools as well, more of a uh, kind of tools going back to the kind of the tools I learned. I pushed myself to learn tools that I've never really played with so much in this role. Tools like InDesign, which I did had a very little exposure to before this role. I also using AI in a way that is more of an extension of my creativity of what I can put out there rather than it wasn't so much something that can replace me, but it's something that I can really use as a tool that I can collaborate with. And so I really learned how to build my skills in that area too, and so much that that encouraged me to do a workshop for the news for the conference. I did not come into this year saying I'm going to do a workshop this year. That was not my plan, but it worked out that way because of all the experience that I had gotten from being in the public relations manager role, and even before when I was doing social management role, and I was part of the conference, a bigger part of the conference last year than I was this year, but it really um, taught me how to do these things and expanded my skill set and my tool base. I'm really, really proud of that as well, that I was able to grasp these. I don't have any formal education in these tools. I just kind of, YouTube was my educator. So, and I think a lot of people might be able to relate to that. And, if you need to know how to do something, YouTube is out there. There are tools available to help you with that. Just really, really great uh, in growth as far as that. I learned leadership skills, management, how to manage my time. I had a couple people that worked with me. I had Sai as my webmaster, excellent, and Andy. They both did an awesome job. They kind of did their own thing, but I was able to put in some input and help and get some help from them as well. And I had another helper who helped me put together some Sabrina, that's her name. She helped me get put together some really cool certificates early in the year. So that was really great to be able to work with those folks and kind of help manage that kind of some of that project work. But that really taught me how to communicate better in not just email, but in phone calls too, and actual meetings is really helpful.
It sounds like you learned a bunch and that it wasn't just about your Toastmasters experience. It could be applicable outside of Toastmasters, which is, from my perspective, one of probably the most underrated elements of Toastmasters as an activity. There is bidirectionality. It doesn't have to be that you're grabbing everything that you can for Toastmasters and Toastmasters is not giving you something back. And it's prompting you not just to learn and to search, but to look at how it is that you can improve yourself. And that's a great message for human beings in general. If we're not learning, we're not living. And I think that kind of development is pretty exceptional. And I'm glad to hear you share about that. And I'm also really pleased to hear that you reference the support that you got from the district because I also want to hear about what kind of content or communication did the district find resonating with them? What did they tell you that they really liked in the work that you did as public relations manager?
I was told by a few folks how the Starburst specifically, it was very engaging to read. They loved, I created a lot of the images for that, and they loved that every activity or not activity, I'm sorry, every article had an image associated with it. They loved that um, I got a lot of feedback too from the editor's nook stuff that I put out there as well. It was a mix of encouragement as well as experiences that I've experienced and that kind of thing. So I got a lot of information or a lot of feedback from that as well, on how people really enjoyed and felt like they were connecting with that a little bit more. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, for communication style, I think District 2, I think most Toastmasters, they like in person is the best way to communicate. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. We often meet online, and sometimes we're like, oh, maybe we don't want to do that. We don't want to meet online anymore. We want to meet in person. We want to actually meet people. That's how you network. It's how you build those, memorable ways you remember people, is by seeing them in person and talking to them about various things. And yeah, you can do that online, but it's not the same effect. So I think that is the best way to communicate. I love keeping things positive and exciting. I think I that resonated with people as well. Um, and it wasn't always strict business. We wanted to have some fun, right? We want to make things a little fun. I try to do these challenges that did resonate with a few people, but they were where I would say, I want you to create a video, 1 to 2 minutes, and kind of like a table topic. And here's the topic I want you to talk about. And I did get a couple of responses from that, which was great. Um, so I think it's indirectly answering that question, but
Yeah,
um,
indirectly and directly. I mean, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that people were looking for different ways to be connected, and you provided one that wasn't simply as static as Zoom, but not as ideal as in person, because you were delivering content to people that allowed them to engage with the information and the people behind the information. And I think it's that concept of revealing that is important for any readership. And I'm wondering if you could do a little bit of an expose right now and share a glimpse of what goes into putting the newsletter together every week. Any hidden gems or behind the scenes stories, or anyone you want to call out for good or for bad, this is your opportunity to do that.
great. Putting together a newsletter, it did take me some time. I will admit it was a good, not to scare anyone away from doing this, because this really is an amazing thing to do, but it did take about 4 to 5 hours sometimes for me to put that together. And a lot of that was not so much the articles, because a lot of those are given to me, or given to you as the editor, but a lot of the images that I created. I wanted to make sure I created images that really spoke to what the article was saying, and also I wanted to keep it as close to brand colors as possible. I wanted to keep the branding there, but still make it fun and engaging. And so I used a mix of Toastmasters colors and branding. I grabbed, sometimes I have grab images from stock images. Sometimes I grab images that people send to me. People love, that's one thing. People love images of actual events happening in Toastmasters, and I think that's great. That's good for anything, really. I mean, we want to see people smile, real people that we can actually reach out to and say hi. We want to see that. Sometimes you don't get those kind of pictures. Sometimes you have to kind of make things up, but it was a great it was a great process. I most of my images I created using Canva, and then of course most of the articles I put in, again, they were most of them were handed to me. Sometimes I would take a little editing freedom to a little creative freedom to them, and depending on who sold me, I could, and and I would turn it into something there was one time I think there was a an article sent to me. It was like literally 2 lines. I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna have a picture for this, I need something bigger than 2 lines. So I will expand on this a little bit. And the reason why that is because after the first, if people are looking at this huge long story, they might say, "Oh, I just don't have time to read that whole thing." And
Mhm.
so if you keep it short and sweet, but still you can still be as powerful, impactful in a short 200 word article, you can. I think that'll you'll get more people reading those. Not to mention, I mean, the newsletter is kind of a long scroll as it is, and so having those short articles is helpful. And you don't want them too short, but I think a 200 word limit is good for that specifically. And I think it really keeps people engaged. They don't feel threatened by the verbiage on there, and also make it fun, interactive. This recent and we've had these trainings I've had in there. Um, this past month. It was just having little bits of fun with that. Also recognizing people, making sure. Now we didn't do as well making sure that we had a Toastmaster of the week every single week, but those we did, we really wanted to make sure their picture stood out. We want to make sure the article stood out, and so that was that was really important for me to really make sure that that person is recognized in the way that they deserve to be recognized, as well as the educational. You have spreadsheets you look at for the educational folks who earned educational, what is the word I'm
Award.
looking for?
Award.
Awards. Thank you. Over the last week. And then you want to make sure you list them all out there. And you also want to make sure you get the club anniversaries as well, that we're celebrating these things. These are really important. I think clubs love to see, oh, look, we're celebrating, yay. Some clubs like mine, oh, we have an anniversary coming up, sweet. It's good information to have. And so I think that a little glimpse of putting the newsletter together, organizing it in a way that makes sense, deciding what your top um, article is going to be. We always start with all the uh,
The
district new
district news.
district events, and then we move into the club. I would love to find a way to maybe mesh those together a little bit more, because sometimes people miss the club um, events because the email only goes so far. But overall, it's just a matter of putting that together and making it make sense, creating the images that make sense to the article, not just throwing an image out there, but the image should somehow make sense to the article that you're putting the image on. And I think that really helps resonate and makes the article or the newsletter a little more engaging for people. They're excited to see it.
I think you're right about that, Josh. And what's potent about your description of all of the parts that you had to sort of manage at the same time, all of the balls in the air? It's kind of like a puzzle that you're assembling and the pieces are changing as you're putting it together. You have to have a high tolerance for dynamic conditions,
Mm.
but you also do need to put in some work. There's some time associated with it. So I'm glad you've detailed it, because when we open up our email and see that there's a starburst and we start scrolling through it, we don't think about the hours that go into making it happen. And we should, because there are other toasties like you out there making that kind of resource available to us as a district. And it's
Yeah.
important that we recognize it. Even if we can't go up to you individually and say, thank you so much, Josh, for doing that, we get a sense that that work is not just coming out of the ether. There are people generating the energy that's necessary to make it happen. And the time and talent that goes into it is incalculable. And you just really demonstrated that with your response. When you're thinking about that this year is now behind you, and I'm sure there's a little bit of relief with that, what advice would you give to your successor, me, and perhaps anyone else that's considering leadership roles in Toastmasters, specifically in District 2? And I would even add, particularly in the public relations function, because we're trying to create a public relations committee. What advice would you give to all of those parties?
My biggest advice to give to anybody, and Marty, you already did it, and that's amazing, is say yes. Say yes to leadership opportunities. even if you don't think you have the skill, even if you don't think that you can, even if you don't think that you're there yet in your adventure, I mean, there's never a right time to be a leader. It's all about, are you ready to grow? Are you ready to learn that process? Anybody can be be that leader that they want to be. All you have to do is say yes. Don't wait for the bell to say, okay, you're ready now. That's not how this works. I didn't know what I was getting into when I came into PRM, but I'm glad I did. I got so much out of it. I learned so much from it. I it it kept me busy and out of trouble to some degree, except with my wife sometimes. But it was no, it was I that would be my biggest advice is say yes to leadership, even if you don't think you're ready. You're never going to be truly ready. You just got to do it and you'll learn from it. You'll grow from it. And Toastmasters makes it so easy to be a bigger part of our district, to really be that leader. It's you're practicing leadership with Toastmasters in a sense. And if you want to grow your leadership skills, even your communication skills, they all kind of go hand in hand together.
Yep.
Just say yes. That is my best advice to give. And I know you hear that all the time around this time of year with Toastmasters, but it's really all there is to it. Even if you don't think you're going to do it, you know what you're doing, do it anyway because you'll learn. And you
Yeah,
got
you'll
so
figure it out.
much, you'll figure it out. And you got so many people, so much expertise surrounding you, ready to help you be successful because they want you to be successful. So that would be my biggest advice.
I think that's great advice, and I'm so glad to hear you offer it because
Hmm.
this is not gratuitous at all, would like to know as you hand over the public relation manager reins, what are you excited to see the new PRM do and bring to the table?
I'm really excited to see how, well, I'm excited, Marty. I'm excited to see how you're going to take this role, how you're going to take, how you are so big on on getting highlighting people, and I love that about you. I love that's what you want to do with this, the newsletter, with the role. You want to highlight, you want to help people succeed, and I think that is amazing. So I'm excited to see how this role, not only how you grow in this role, but also see how the district grows with public relations, how we get the word out there. How do we do more outreach in this role and maintain engagement from within our current membership? I think you're going to do an amazing job at this. And I'm really excited to see the passion and the love that you have that I know the same as I have for this district and see where that goes. So I think that is I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see what what you can do for this district. I think you're going to do an amazing job. I truly mean that in
Well,
every
thank
regard.
you. Thank you, Josh. I certainly know that I stand on strong shoulders, and I am not opposed to reaching out to get help, as many of you all know. And I think that a community gets a lot more accomplished than a single individual in an instance like this. And
Absolutely.
Toastmasters is worthy of the effort. So I would say when you're thinking about the reflection that you've had, and I know you've only had 5 days really to reflect, and frankly, not really, because here you are doing some PRM stuff. What final words would you have for members in our district who are listening to this, who've been reading your work and following your updates and watching the content that's been in the newsletter for the last 52 weeks? What are the final words that you want to share with them?
I want to say that I truly have had such an amazing year doing the work I've done for the district, the support I've received, the people I've met. It has been an amazing experience for me in every way. And I am grateful to be able to do that. I'm grateful to be able to learn and grow from this experience as well. If you're considering public relations, even if you're not considering public relations, I will tell you, it is the most fun job you're going to have in this district. And I'm not just saying that. I've had a lot of jobs in the district. It really is one of the most fun you're going to have. And it's because it's the one you really get to use so much creative energy, put creative energy towards. And I think we are all, even if you don't know it, we are all creative individuals. We have it in us to create these experiences, to create things that people are going to remember. And yes, everybody can do this, even you. And that's kind of what I want to say is everyone should take a look at this. And it really is a rewarding experience. Being in district leadership in general is rewarding. You're not only learning your own role, you're learning how others are doing their roles as well. You're learning the trios process. You're learning, because they do a lot of work too. You're learning what that looks like and how you can engage and be the best leader and communicator that you can be within this program.
Well, thank you. I love hearing you say that it can do something for you because many of us struggle with what we can do, but there is reciprocal benefit. And you've sort of illustrated over the time that we've chatted today, and probably your larger Toastmasters journey, that it is an opportunity for you to drive how much or how little you do. But doing something is the key. And I think, Toasties, that's what I want to conclude with today. We both hope that you've enjoyed hearing from our terrific Toastmasters, and specifically from Josh and the work that he's done over the last year, and that you can see that he's offering an opportunity to you to find your way to be engaged. Of course, I want you to volunteer for the Public Relations Committee, but on behalf of Josh, our immediate past Public Relations Manager Extraordinaire, and myself, I want to wish you productivity and opportunity, and most of all, learning. Looking forward to our next get together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marty.
Thank you,
Bye,
Josh.
Toasties.